What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of my podcast, And Then Came Me. I am the Lotus, and I will be your host tonight. As always, thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day to either stop by and listen to this podcast, or if you're viewing it here on YouTube. Tonight may be a little bit of a more lengthier video, so what I may end up having to do is to just split it up and give you a portion of it tonight and give you the rest of it next week. Just because I really don't want to overload you guys as I crack open the book of my life for you. As you can see by the title of this video, tonight I'm going to be giving you a little more background on who I am as a person and some of my early childhood experiences. So even some BC experiences, so some before Cole experiences. We're really just going to talk about this and take a look at how it affects us throughout our life. Because some people may not realize how much of an effect what your parents go through before you're born or while they're pregnant with you has on you. So I just wanted to kind of take a little bit of a deeper look at that and give you some of my own personal experiences. I feel that this is definitely going to help you have a better understanding of me on a deeper level, and it's going to help you understand in some later episodes why I am the way I am when it comes to certain topics. A lot of times we see a person as their current self, and we don't always exactly understand what made them that way. This is something I want you to keep in mind when you're dealing with certain individuals. A person may be doing something that seems odd or even annoying to you, and you can't help but wonder, why do you do things like that? What made you this way? They may have a certain reaction to a situation that makes you mad because you think that they're intentionally acting this way just to piss you off, but in reality, it may be some type of defense mechanism for them. Unfortunately, more often than not, the individual may not even realize what they're doing or the effect that it has on other people. They're just doing it because that's how they've always acted or responded to similar situations. Or maybe that's what was taught to them as a way to respond to situations like that. Even though it's up to that person to realize if the behavior isn't exactly the best way to handle or respond to the situation at hand, I don't see a problem with bringing it to their attention and saying something like, "Hey, I don't really like when you do X, Y, and Z. What's the reason that you respond this way? How can we work together to change it?" Now, them declining to make a change or choosing to not understand the effect that it's having on you is when you have to step up for yourself and say, "I've tried to get to the root of this problem with them to help them solve it. They are continuing to refuse my help. And not only that, they obviously don't care about the toll that it's taking on me by having to deal with it. I now need to move forward from this person until they are willing to help themselves." Always, always, always keep yourself as the top priority. You don't deserve any mistreatment or people that refuse to help themselves and, in result, end up doing damage to you. All of this is pretty much a story within itself, so let me just get down to telling you who I am. So, who am I? I'm the Lotus, right? But besides that, who am I? So, my name is Nicole Sumlin. I am 24 years old. My birthday is August 30th. I am your favorite Virgo. I was born in Cleveland, Ohio to my parents, Jean and Mose. Now, many of you that have been following me may know that I was born into an alcoholic family. This is something that I really talk about often because as a child, I was always taught to not talk about it. Nobody needed to know that my parents were alcoholics. You don't go to school or out of the house and talk to people about this thing. It was like something that needed to be hidden. So these days, I'm telling everybody. I just want to make sure that it's something that gets talked about because there was nobody that talked about it when I was a kid. So it was like, it felt like I was the only person that was living this. But growing up and my other friends that were experiencing things like this, who also started to talk about it, I realized, hey, I wasn't the only one that was going through this fucked up shit. So now all I do is tell people about it. So both of my parents were full-blown alcoholics by the time that I arrived. I am the youngest sibling out of my two other siblings. I have an older sister and I have an older brother, which rest his soul. Love you so much. I am my mother's third child and my father's first and only. My mother was 34 when she had me, and my father was 47. My story is really special to me because, for one, my father never, ever wanted kids. He forced my mother to have multiple abortions before I was born. And I know you may think, how could a person force you to do that? First and foremost, I would like to remind you that this is a judgment-free zone. Remember, we like a little Planet Fitness up in here. So if this topic is making you uncomfortable, or if you feel like the judgmentalness just creeping up on you, now is your time to exit. And I ain't gonna be mad at you, baby. You can come back for the next episode. I'm not mad at you. With that being said, how could a person force you to do that? Well, considering the circumstances, my mother was 13 years younger than my father, and they met in her early 20s. So in a sense, my father really was a mentor type of figure to my mom, because he always pushed that been there, done that narrative, and what you just learned, I already forgot. She had 2 children prior, which was my brother and sister, that he was helping her raise, and at this point really was just helping provide a stable family environment for them. My father was controlling. Very, very, very controlling. It was either my way or the highway with him, and there was no way around that. And on top of it, he was abusive. Now, don't get me wrong, I love my father to death, but I will not sugarcoat anything, because he definitely was not a saint. Rest his soul as well. He knew that. I know that. And everybody that knew him knew that. So put yourself in that position. You're a young woman with 2 kids trying to provide a stable environment for your kids, and this person is helping you do that. Whether it be by paying the bills and making sure you had a car so you didn't have to walk with the kids or catch buses with the kids, and everybody always had what they needed. As far as clothes, clean clothes to wear, food in your stomach, ain't have to worry about nothing of that nature. Just for the small price of you do what I tell you to do. When all along, these were all red flags, but being in love definitely makes you blind. Fast forward, my mom has multiple abortions. Trying to keep peace with my father, she finally got tired when she fell pregnant with me. That was me enough. So she found the courage within herself to say, hey, I can't do this no more. Either we're going to get married and keep the baby, or I'm going to leave and keep the baby. And my father, at this point, broke down, and he agreed to marriage, which that man complained his whole entire life that my mother forced him to marry. So now imagine, after running from having kids your entire life and almost 50 years old, you're almost 50 years old, and now you have a child on the way, and on top of that, you getting married. Again, my father was verbally, physically, and mentally abusive. Considering that my mother was now pregnant, he didn't want people to see the bruises on her, so he resorted to hitting her in her head. Because in his mind, if I hit you in your head, nobody will see the bruises that are under your hair on your scalp. Due to all of the stress and abuse and hopelessness that my mother probably felt at this point, she drank and smoked cigarettes her entire pregnancy with me. She always told me when I was a child how she stopped drinking a week before she had me, and all she could do was cry and pray that nothing would be wrong with me, and that I wouldn't be born deformed or mentally challenged. When my mother went into labor with me, my father was too drunk to be there. He dropped her and my brother off at the hospital, and he went home. So you might as well say my mother brought me into this world alone. Now, take into consideration the damage that this does to a person. You spend 9 months carrying a child for a person that they didn't even want, while they continuously abuse you in any way that they possibly could. And to put the icing on the cake, they cheated on you every single chance they got. And I don't want to hear the, well, she could have just left line. Where was she going with now 2 kids and a newborn baby? My mother is originally from New York City. She really didn't have anybody here besides her mother, who was also not in the best situation if we're really looking at things for what they truly are. Kind of want to drop a sidebar here that people will choose to deal with one form of aggravation or abuse from this person because they don't want to deal with the aggravation or abuse that is going on in this household. So it's kind of like accepting the lesser of the 2 evils. So you got some drama going on in your house, and I can come and live with you and deal with your drama, or I could just stay at home in my house and deal with my drama. So again, it's like you're deciding to go with which one is the lesser of the 2 evils. So keep that in mind when you tell a person, oh, you could just leave. You can go and stay with so-and-so. When you go and live with so-and-so, you're taking on whatever so-and-so got going on in their house. So by having me, my mother had quite literally sealed her fate. When I was born, I didn't cry, and my mother said that she immediately panicked because she wanted to know what was wrong. What's going on that my baby ain't crying? I'm not hearing nothing. But the doctors had informed her that they actually didn't want me to cry because apparently I had used the bathroom. I had pooped before I came out. So if I was to inhale to cry, I would inhale the feces and it could make me sick or kill me. And that actually happens. That kills babies when they go to inhale that after they've done that. So here I am, entering the world already fucking up. Like I'm out here accidentally trying to commit suicide. So to kind of start to digress a little bit and wrap things up for you, in closing, I would like to say, even the things that happen to you before birth will have an influence on you after birth. And we'll kind of touch base on this more next week when we start to tell about my early childhood. I just don't want to overload y'all today. But if your mother was constantly under stress, think about the effect that has on you while you was in there, get stressed out. And unfortunately, in my case, I was stressing, I was drinking, I was smoking inside the womb. Today, I do not drink or smoke. And anytime anybody asks me if we go out, are you going to get a drink? Are you going to get a drink? I'm like, yeah, no, I stopped drinking back in 97 when I was born. So that's kind of like my little dry joke of saying like, yeah, I don't drink. Ultimately, I cannot be mad. By the grace of God, I made it out unscathed. A lot of things could have went wrong with that. And I really could have came out messed up. And I was fortunate enough to come out, I'm a little bit old spirited on the inside. And, sometimes my neck, my back hurt and stuff like that. But I don't think that has anything to do with that. I just think I'm like an old soul. And I got a good sense of humor. So I'm happy with that. All the months of being lit in there, I know how to have a good time. Sober now. I also want to remind you all that feeling mad at your parents for not making the right decisions along their journey of raising you won't help you prosper or flourish or ever be able to be at peace in your life if you're holding on to that anger about, well, they messed up this, and this when they were raising me, and you should have been a better parent, and you should have just did this differently, and to throw at them all of the things that you could say, I would have done it differently. But the only reason that you could say you would have done it differently is because you lived through it. So once you go through things, you kind of realize, yeah, that was kind of fucked up. Next time around, I won't do that. Just being able to recognize that your parents are human. There is no handbook to being a parent. You are literally here because two people was having a good time. You know what I'm saying? They was being some freaks in the sheets. So that is really the only reason any of us are here. Yes, some of your parents planned for you to be here. Lucky you. But majority of us, our parents did not plan for us to be here, and they was just having a good time, and here we are paying bills and stressing out every day. They make mistakes though. And unfortunately, all you can do is use it as an example of what not to do when you have kids, if you choose to have kids, or maybe the experiences that you went through will make you not want to have kids. I also want to touch base on that too. That probably played a large role in why my father did not want to have kids. My father was the oldest out of 10 children. Okay. My grandparents and them came from down south, and them was a lot of kids, to have to take care of, brothers and sisters. And my father also witnessed his baby brother fall off the porch. And in his life, he also always felt like that was his fault because he says he was supposed to be watching him. Was he supposed to be watching him? Who knows? I don't know. I wasn't there. But I really feel like that contributed to him being an alcoholic. So looking at people's early childhood experiences, which him being the oldest out of all them kids and taking care of all them kids and then being a teenager and you're supposed to be watching somebody and they fell off the porch and the man ended up growing up to have seizures because he fell off the porch. And my father probably took all of that on and couldn't handle it. So that all contributed to why he became an alcoholic. And of course, my mother has her own story on the things that made her turn into an alcoholic. And my father was one of the main reasons that helped her turn into an alcoholic, but really just being able to look at all these different experiences early in childhood and even before they're born and things like that can really help you understand why you're the way you are or why a certain person is the way that they are. And it's really just something that I feel like we need to start taking into consideration when we're looking at a person. We need to be able to see the whole picture. Not for everybody. Some people you don't need to know every single detail about their life. But for people that you care about, I definitely do recommend that you know at least some of their background. So shout out to my mama if you watching this. I love you, baby. You my favorite white home girl, and I ain't mad at you. You did the best that you could, and I realize the sacrifices that you made for me, and that's why I'm out here grinding every day, mama. I'm doing the best I can do. So shout out to my mom, and I also want to give another quick shout out before I close the video out to my friend Dom, just because he is really one of the main reasons why I started my podcast. He has his own podcast. I'm going to link him down in the description box below if you want to check out his podcast. I believe it's called Fake Adulting. He talks about some really good stuff on there as well. But Dom was really the only person that I knew that was doing a podcast that could kind of help me figure out how to do it myself. So here I am. So shout out to you, Dom. I appreciate you. And as always, if you have any questions or concerns or specific topics that you want to talk about for upcoming weeks, if you want to stay anonymous, you can. You can always contact me through the comments. You can contact me through email. You can contact me through DMs on Instagram. You can pretty much find me anywhere. I also wanted to say really quickly, I'm going to move my mic over, that this shirt that I'm wearing, if you're watching the visual for it, I made this, y'all. So if you would like to purchase a shirt, the link to my website will be in the description box as well. And the shirt that I had on in the previous videos, I'm pretty sure those were all my shirts. So if you want to check that out, you can. But I just want to thank you all for taking the time out of your day to stop by and listen to this or watch it. And I hope that it gave you a little bit more insight on who I am and why I am the way I am. As far as my early BC, before Cole childhood started. Anyways, with that. So next week, we're going to get into little me, my little early childhood and some things that I experienced there. But we are already 18 minutes into this podcast and I ain't going to hold y'all. So thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, or follow my podcast or follow me on Instagram. And I will see you next week. Bye. Oh. I am the Lotus and you can be too. All right. Now bye.